Welcome to another of our GST titled Philosophy and Logic. This material is from National Open University of Nigeria. My name is Dan Asukwo, your instructor. Are you writing any of the GSTs soon, or you want to improve your knowledge on philosophy and logic? If so, let us know on the comment section so that we can help you out. If you are a noun student or from any other universities, this will be very useful for you. Please do well to share it with others as well as on your study groups. If this is your first time of coming across our videos, why not do well to subscribe, like, comment, and share for others too to benefit. Unit 4, Valid, Invalid, Deductive, and Inductive Arguments. 1.0. Introduction. This study unit introduces you to the analysis of inductive and deductive arguments. It will also teach you how a deductive argument is said to be valid or invalid, how an inductive argument is said to be weak or strong. This study unit will also teach you how to define and differentiate between sound and unsound argument. 2.0. Intended learning outcomes. By the end of this unit, you will be able to differentiate between a valid and invalid deductive argument, differentiate between weak and strong inductive arguments, differentiate between sound and unsound arguments, evaluate arguments in different contexts. 3.0. Main content. 3.1. Inductive argument. An inductive argument is that kind of argument that its premise only support, but do not guarantee its conclusion. Inductive argument does not claim that their premises, even if true, support their conclusions with certainty. Furthermore, in any inductive mode of reasoning, the conclusion logically implies an item of information not necessarily implied by the premises, and that which can be confirmed or refuted only on the basis of evidence drawn from sense experience. Ade-Ali, 2265. You also need to know that inductive argument is structured in such way that from one set of propositions, premises, it moves to another, conclusion. Also proceeds from the experienced, particular, to the inexperienced, general, from the known to the unknown. For instance, Mr. Roger Miller is a Cameroonian and a football player. Mr. Itu Fils is a Cameroonian and a football player. Mr. Rigobert Song is a Cameroonian and a football player. Therefore, all Cameroonians are football players. You can see that in the above example, the conclusion that all Cameroonians are football players, general proposition, is arrived at by sampling some members of the class of persons who are Cameroonians. But for some logicians, Minima and Inoka, 1997, there are also some cases in which the propositions of an inductive argument which are used as premises and conclusions may all be either general propositions or particular prepositions. This is evident in the following arguments. A. All birds grow from infancy to adulthood. All trees grow from infancy to maturity. All men grow from infancy to adulthood. Therefore, all living things grow infancy to adulthood. Minima and Inoka, 1997, 72. B. Ade-Ali. Amin was a dictator and was ruthless. Samuel Doe was a dictator and was ruthless. Kabila is a dictator, therefore Kabila is ruthless. Other facts that you must know about inductive arguments are: A. All inductive arguments are invalid. This is because the premises do not support the conclusion. B. The support offered by the premises of an inductive arguments to their conclusion is either high, strong, or low, weak, or none at all. For example, inductive arguments with high degree of support for conclusion. Almost all footballers are rich. J.J. Okocha is a footballer. It follows that J.J. Okocha is rich. Inductive arguments with premises offering low support for conclusion. Dangote worked hard and became rich. Otedola worked hard and became rich. Saraki worked and became rich. Therefore, all who worked hard will become rich. Inductive argument that do not support their conclusion. Iron, a metal conduct electricity. Copper, a metal conduct electricity. Aluminium, a metal conduct electricity. Therefore, all metals expands when heated. 3.2. Deductive argument. Logicians define deductive argument as that kind of argument in which the premises do not only support, but also guarantee the conclusion. In other words, the conclusion is directly inferred from the premises. It also means that the conclusion does not contain any new information aside those that we already have in the premises. Like what we have for inductive arguments, we also have different type of deductive arguments depending on the form the arguments take. We have those that move from general propositions as premises to a proposition as the conclusion. Example: all noun students have matriculation number. Adegboyega is a noun student. Therefore, Adegboyega has matriculation number. 2. All lawyers are liars. Yakubu is a lawyer. Therefore, Yakubu is a liar. We also have those that move from general propositions to a general proposition as the conclusion. Example: all lecturers are saints. All saints will go to heaven. Therefore, all lectures will go to heaven. 3.3. Valid and invalid deductive argument. A. Deductive argument is said to be valid if and only if 2. The premises imply the conclusion, or 2. The premises entail the conclusion, or 3. The conclusion follows from the premises, or D. The premises necessitate the conclusion, or E. The conclusion can be inferred from the premises. It should be clear to you then that a valid deductive argument is an argument in which if you accept the premises to be true, you cannot deny or reject the conclusion. If you do so, you will be running into contradiction. You should also know that in logic proper, the words true or false are used to qualify statements or propositions, while valid or invalid are used to qualify arguments. In other words, we talk of true or false statements or propositions and valid or invalid arguments. On the other hand, an invalid deductive argument is one that the premises do not support the conclusion. In other words, the conclusion cannot be inferred from the premises, or that the premises do not necessitate the conclusion. Invariably, you can accept the premises of the deductive argument to be true and reject the conclusion without running into any problem. 3.4. Weak and strong inductive arguments. As noted earlier, valid or invalid are words used to qualify deductive arguments. And while all inductive argument is said to be invalid, weak or strong are used to qualify inductive arguments. As stated earlier, an inductive argument is based on probability. That is why logicians rather use the words weak and strong. In an inductive argument, the words strong and weak are used to indicate the level and strength of evidence or data used as premises, and the degree of certainty contained in the conclusion. Any inductive argument is based on probability. Therefore, its weakness or strength depends on the degree of evidence contained in the conclusion. 3.5. Sound and unsound argument. First, the words sound and unsound have nothing to do with an invalid and inductive argument. They are only used to qualify a valid deductive argument. In point of facts, all inductive arguments are unsound. Also bear in mind that before an argument becomes sound or unsound, it must be first of all valid. Thus, only a valid argument is said to be sound. A valid deductive argument is said to be sound if the premises of that argument as well as the conclusion are all true prepositions. On the other hand, a valid argument is said to be unsound if the premises of that argument are either all false or contain a mixture of true and false prepositions, notwithstanding the truth value of its conclusion. Minima and Inoka, 1997-74. Why is it possible that a deductive argument with false premises can be described as valid? Minima and Inoka give us a simplified answer. The point is that the validity or invalidity of an argument does not depend upon the truth or falsity of its premises. Since an argument, deductive, is said to have a pattern or structure or form, an argument is thereby valid if it conforms or tallies with that structure or form or pattern. 1997-74. In a deductive reasoning, the pattern or structure is what we mean by words such as imply, necessitate, followed by entail, etc. Minimal and Inoka further insist that these words point to the fact that it is impossible for the premises of an argument to be all true while the conclusion is false. Once that happens, then that argument is invalid. 1997-75. However, in their own understanding, those words did not say that the premises could be a mixture of true and false propositions or false prepositions throughout, while the argument still remained valid. 1997-75. Therefore, as stated earlier, the words sound and unsound only show the truth value of the premises contained in any argument. For example, A. All noun students are dullard. All dullards will make heaven. Therefore, all noun students will make heaven. B. All Nigerians are Africans. All Africans are whites. Therefore, all Nigerians are whites. You can see that in example A, both the two premises plus the conclusion are false propositions, yet the argument is valid because the conclusion necessarily follows from the premises. Again, in example B, the first premises has a true proposition. The second has a false proposition, while the conclusion is also expressed in a false proposition. But here again the argument is valid because despite the falsity of the second premise and the falsity of the conclusion is validly derived from the combination of the false and true premises. So, in both examples, A and B, the arguments are valid but unsound. Unsound in the sense that the valid arguments have false premises and false conclusion. And in the second example, it has one true premises and one false premise with a false conclusion. Where a valid argument has all its premises and conclusion as true propositions, then that valid argument is also a sound argument. However, you should always bear in mind that the fact that an argument has all its premises true does not necessarily mean that it must be valid. It is possible to an argument to remain invalid even if all its premises are true. For example, all boys are dressed in shirts. Some girls are dressed in shirts. Therefore, some girls are boys. Thus, any argument in which all the premises are true but has the conclusion as false preposition must be an invalid argument. 4.0. Conclusion. In philosophy, there are valid and invalid, weak and strong, sound and unsound arguments. 5.0 Summary. To get the best of this unit, you may need to repay it again. Also drop a comment on the comment section stating the important lesson learned.